why do you do the flat part first and make one side? Or what's the?
Well, you have to surface one side of the board, so next step is to take it to the planer, and now you've got one side of the board that's perfectly flat, and then when you run it through your planer, you're going to have two parallel surfaces now. If you run a board through the planer that's twisted, cupped, warped, bowed, whatever, the planer will follow that curve. And you can keep running it through until you end up with a toothpick. It isn't going to work.
That I have tried this. I have been in the position where I didn't have a working joiner.
Yes.
I just had a really nice planer.
Yes.
And some really twisted acacia.
Right.
So I thought maybe if I run it through and flip it enough, it'll even out. It will not. It just twists through the planer and comes out twisted. And then I thought, if I do it wrong some more, maybe I could fix it. So I thought maybe if I dominoed them together, I could like force the twist out and clamp them.
I wasn't going to get into this right now, but seeing he's talking about that, some people have made a sled for their thickness plane.
I did.
And you'll take and you can shim the corners where the board won't move, and then you run it through your planer now, and you'll get a flat surface. But the question is, what if you have a board that's 8 feet long? You're going to make an 8-foot sled to run it through?
I did.
God love you.
I
Okay. Well, it's
not as accurate. Even if you shim it right and you screw through the shim to make sure nothing moves, it's just too much. Yeah. Also, the sled is wood, the machine is metal. There's just too many margins for error. So
I love it.
So coming back to the joiner real quick, always ask yourself a question. What do I want to do with this joiner? If you want to make little short pieces that are 3 feet long, buy yourself a 6-inch wide joiner with maybe a 48-inch bed on it. The problem is if you're going to surface 8-foot boards with a little tiny joiner, you're going to, if it's got a big bow in it or a twist, it's going to fall off the end of the jointer and you're not going to be able to get a flat surface like that. Now that joiner there is 80 inches long. So now if you're going to have a project and you've got an 8-foot board and each piece is going to be 2 feet, cut them into 2-foot lengths to begin with, and you'll eliminate a lot of that twisting and bowing and cut, and you'll make your life a lot easier than trying to run this great big board through there at one time. So there's a few techniques to mitigate the inaccuracy of the jointing.
And to get back to your question about why the flat first, you're simply making the largest surface you can as a reference surface.
Right. That's your starting point. Now you have one flat surface. Okay. So the next step in the operation is?
The next step.
Yeah, the next step.
Oh, the next step is to take it to the thickness planer now. Now the board right now, by getting that twist and everything out, started out at about 2 inches, but we really didn't take a lot off because we took corners off on one end and a little off the other end. So it's still well beyond the 1 3/4 inches that we're looking for.
Okay, it'll get there. There you go.
Actually, I said it's a 3-step process. It's actually a 4-step process. This is a 20-inch wide thickness planer, and we're basically just, you can see from the video there that we had to make 2 passes, and now I'm going to bring it down to my finished dimension, or a hair over my finished dimension, and now we're going to go to the joiner, and we're going to, now we got 2 flat surfaces, and we're running it across the joiner to get that 3rd edge on there, and then we're taking it over to the table saw and we're going to cut it to the dimension that I'm looking for, which is 7 inches. Set up the fence. Boom. So now we have, and the final step is flat, straight, and square. We're going to trim off each end of the board to the finished dimension, or we'll just clean it up. And now every surface on that board is flat, straight, and square, and there's about a 10-inch machinist square on there, and it's perfectly square.
That's where you got to start.
And parallel.
Parallel, flat, straight, square, and now Dennis asked me a question last week